All right, so welcome to probably one of the largest PDFs on the internet that is about health and wellness. And this is the Homeostasis diet. If you don't know that by now, and this PDF should teach you things that you don't know right now. And among the things you learn in this PDF, they may significantly impact and change your life if you try them, of course, because the majority of the things you're going to learn in here are going to give you books and research links. So, yeah, let's get into it. Now, the very first thing I wrote here, and I'm breaking this down for you, you're more than welcome to download the PDF and read it yourself. But I like to read it to people because sometimes people like to just sit and listen. I'm the type of person that really benefits from sitting and listening, so that's why I'm doing this. So if you don't want to hear me talk, download the PDF. Have a beautiful day. I hope it changes your life. But the very first thing I said here is it's not what you see, it's what you know about what you see. And that's often because that's how you will feel. So, when we're in here and you see BDNF, if you don't know that's your brain derived neurotropic factor, that proves the point that it's not what you see, it's what you know about what you see. So I'm going to show you a bunch of cool things here. Now, yellow inside of this PDF is important information, and teal are links to books and research. So I've given ample links to research and ample links to books because at the end of the day, I'm here to teach you a better way. And I don't know everything. There are people out there on the internet that have spent their lives learning the things that I'm going to explain to you in this PDF. And some of them, it's kind of best to go direct to source sometimes. Like for cold showers, the Wim Hof method. Go direct to source, learn from them or watch me do it. Whatever makes you happy. I'm just here to help you. So, a diet plan created for you by you starting at $3.99. And our diet plans start at $3.99. And that's from a gut restoration dietitian. So they have specializations outside of the general schooling that a dietitian would receive. And gut microbiome, your belly is your brain. So, key terms. Now, going over some of these key terms, they might be foreign to you now, but once you understand them, they won't be foreign. And the reason I'm going over these key terms is just so I can speak freely. So we're on the same plateau of information. Now, brain-derived neurotropic factor. This is your BDNF, which is responsible for neuronal growth and synaptic plasticity. It's very important for cognitive function. We'll just sum it up with that. And then there's a research paper right here that's going to teach you about your brain-derived neurotropic factor. The microbiome. This is where we say your belly is your brain. Mind your gut and you keep your mind. There is an endless amount of research behind the trash foods in the grocery store, which is why we created the 50 Brain Cell Challenge, and the overall health of your gut microbiome. That's why we do gut microbiome testing. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know, you genuinely don't know. And the best way to know is through a scientific test that tells you what's actually going on. So start learning on nature.com, and nature.com is a reputable source filled with research papers that are useful. Now, neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells in the memory and learning center. Neuroplasticity, this is the formation of new brain cells, which neuroplasticity levels would go up through meditating. Neuroplasticity and neurogenesis and BDNF and your microbiome health would all go up through fasting. And if you haven't watched the very long video on my website where I reverse engineer the neuroprogression of the hidden mechanics of depression research paper, they're going to see me talk about all of these things right here. Now, ketones, that's when you're fasted, you deplete your glycogen stores in your liver, you shift over to using fats as fuel. Ketones are 2.1 times more powerful. You can look at a nutritional facts chart and you can see that the 4 are for calories and sugars and 9 for fats. DMN, that's your default mode network. If you look into meditation, specifically past 45 minutes, I suggest everyone hours and meditate. Everyone meditates for an hour, and that's to interact with your default mode network. Glucose, just a fancy name for sugar. You can look at like glucose, sucralose, high fructose corn syrup. There's a lot of things that are going to affect your glucose. And I'm actually going to add a link right here for a glucose. It's the Cleveland Clinic. So 1 second. And what you really want to understand is that like processed foods, corn chips, pretzels, sweetened beverages, soda, sweet tea, sports drinks, cheeseburgers, fried chicken, pizza, donuts, white bread, cereals, mashed potatoes, french fries, they're all high glycemic index foods. High glycemic index foods, those are not good for you. And you can obviously consume fiber to possibly lower that glucose response. But in general, you really want to avoid those foods. So let me go ahead and put this in here. Link to something useful. Boom. And then hit the space here, put the brackets, and I'm building this for you as I teach it. So I'm just showing you just a little bit of what I'm doing in the background. And bam, link that chart right there. And then we're going to make this teal just so people have link to useful information. And boom. So that's another link. Now, inflammatory markers. From the neuroprogression, the hidden mechanics of depression research paper, I found that there was a lot of inflammation happening. And interleukin cytokines were pro inflammatory. So I started looking into things that would lower inflammation, like what are some pro or anti-inflammatory markers, which is like interleukin something. Wim Hof method. That's when I learned that there's a breathing exercise that can lower inflammation in your body. That's when I learned that eating all these unhealthy foods were causing issues in the gut, which were leading to inflammation. They literally claim that low grade inflammation is the reason that people are having depression and anxiety. And when you look at all the shitty foods, you see that high blood sugar spikes your anxiety. High blood sugar lowers your brain derived neurotropic factor. You look at SSRI medications and you realize SSRI medications actually mess and treat with the brain derived neurotropic factor. So if BDNF is automatically being raised in these medicines, you might want to consider raising it yourself. We'll talk about that a little bit down below. Now, mitochondria. This is basically just a way to, powerhouse your cell. Like that is where your cells are getting their energy from. When you fast, you're going through something called intermetabolic switching. That's when your body's going from the sugars to the fats, and a lot of people have a hard time doing that. And trust me, there's 3 different pages about fasting and one page that I actually have to complete for you here. So alpha, beta, theta, and delta. Those are just different brain waves that you're into. Theta and delta are your more programmable brain waves. Your alpha and beta are not your very programmable brain waves. That's why listening to subconscious affirmations when you sleep at night works really well. And there's going to be another page on here about subconscious affirmations, because at the end of the day, if I don't teach you how to reprogram your brain with like 95% of a chance of success, then I'm probably just lying to you, because 95% of your reprogramming is going to happen when you sleep at night. 1 through 7, we're in the programming phase, and we're going to talk about that in the things down below. So affirmations, these are something that you would listen to on repeat when you sleep at night. So like subconscious affirmations, very important. Homeostasis is just your body's natural mechanics of survival. Your hippocampus is your memory and learning center. And you will see something called the bigger the belly, the smaller the brain, which you can go and Google that, which like if I type in bigger the belly, smaller the brain, hit enter right here, this is going to show you the study in the United Kingdom found that people were more obese. The hip to weight ratio, so it's not BMI, it's hip to weight ratio, had slightly lower brain volumes on average compared to healthy people. So do your own research. Please research these things. Don't believe me. Talk to your doctor, talk to your PCP, talk to somebody that's much smarter than me. But we're going to move on to key terms part 2. Now, right here, important homeostatic terms. So nutrigenomics, this is like the foods, the way they express your genes, which leads you into epigenetics. It's the way that your body interprets its genes from its environments and its behaviors. So like you are literally specifically designed to eat certain foods. And that's why when everyone asks me, what do you eat? I'm kind of just like, well, I'm a 32-year-old male that eats once a day, and I eat that because that's the way that I live my life. I don't know how you live your life. Metabolism, that's just basically how your body utilizes nutrients as energy. And in gut microbiome tests, we find out that some people are just literally missing the ability to process certain nutrients in their body, which is bad. So, protein intake. Big issues with protein intake are the fact that we are learning from bodybuilders that are on steroids, that have higher red blood cell counts, and their protein synthesis levels are off the chart. The average human being taking the same amount of protein as a bodybuilder would literally mess up their kidneys. So, just try to find out the source of where information comes from, and you're really calculating per kilogram. So, like 0.8 grams per kilogram. And as you're younger, I think I forget the total amount of research to click on that. I think it was something with like teens need more, and as you age, you need like more or less. I forget, it's one of the charts, so I'm not even going to sit here and explain that. It's been a while since I've looked at it. Anxiety. This is like a heightened state of awareness, which is when you're having sugar. That's where your anxiety is spiking. Depression. We all know what depression is. If you've never been depressed, then you probably don't know what depression is. And if you've never been depressed, then awesome, you've never struggled. And struggling is hard. And depression is literally this state. It's a disease of your mood. So if you've ever had a mood-based disease, you know what I'm talking about. Pineal gland. Many people talk about this as their third eye. This is where melatonin and your circadian rhythm, your sleep cycle, you can get into your host clock genes. These are just really important pieces to touch on. The vagus nerve. So when you look at the Wim Hof method, what's the quickest way to stimulate your vagus nerve? A lot of people talk about breathing. So your 10th cranial nerve that connects your heart, your lungs, your upper digestive tract, your chest, your abdomen, your neck, and your head. Coughing, sneezing, hunger sensations are the main points here. And I've tried the Wim Hof method. When I learned about the vagus nerve, you put your cold water right here. And I tried the Wim Hof method fasted, and it like wasn't working. So I'm pretty convinced there's some connections between glucose and the Wim Hof method versus being fasted and doing the Wim Hof method. Once again, that's just some weird stuff that I did. I would just hike in my undies out to a random waterfall in the middle of the winter, and then I would try to do the Wim Hof method out there. And I fasted for 3 days, and I went one day, and I kept shivering, and I couldn't understand it. So, anyways, we're going to write a little bit more there. Now, our pillars. So these are the fundamentals that I operate off of. And these are the ones that are going to move the needle in your health and wellness, like brain derived neurotropic factor, which is number 1. So, brain derived neurotropic factor is one of the most important proteins to optimize in your brain. BDNF is important. It's so important that depression and mental health medications raise your BDNF. So, you might want to consider optimizing yourself. See research paper here. That research paper is going to go over like BDNF and blood sugar. Even with blood sugar spikes and BDNF, and having your blood sugar spike means nothing about your age. Doesn't matter if you're 20 or 60. If you're having sugar, it's having the same effects on your body. BDNF is considered a miracle protein for your brain, known to improve brain function. Fasting produces brain-derived neurotropic factor, which helps with mental detoxification by accelerating or removing excess proteins specifically from the brain. And we're going to talk about glycolysis down below, and that's where sugars are binding to your bodily proteins and rendering them dysfunctional and useless and unable to be routinely replaced. So if you're not fasting on a daily basis, you're not removing those proteins, which are gunking up your brain, and those are called beta amyloid plaques. And when you look at everybody that has the bigger the belly, the smaller the brain, they're more than likely going to develop dementia. Like they have like a 40 to 50% increased chance of developing that based on the fact that they are not healthy. The inflammatory belly fat is genuinely shrinking the memory and learning center. Do your own research. Don't believe me. Talk to your doctor, talk to your PCP, talk to somebody that's much smarter and educated than me. But moving on. So, fasting boosts your brain derived neurotropic factor, which helps with mental detoxification. This is something called autophagy. When we choose to fast, we run on ketones, which are 2.1 times more powerful at the mitochondrial cellular level. A relationship between autophagy, neurogenesis, brain derived neurotropic factor, and neuroplasticity, or when fasting is known to increase your cognition. There are direct links between dementia, Alzheimer's, depression, anxiety, and several other mental illnesses through the lack of brain derived neurotropic factor. Understanding the relationship between blood glucose sugar and BDNF is where everything changes. You may wonder why your doctor does not test for BDNF. This is once again, an MD is not going to test you on preventative measures that might happen 10 to 15 years down the road because they're an MD. And if you show up, they're like, oh, you have a problem? Here's a pill. So, MDs, not always the best resource to get your health right. People that aren't MDs, like naturopath doctors or dietitians, like dietitians are responsible for making sure that you don't end up in the hospital, even to the point where dietitians work at hospitals where people are like at the end of their life, and the hospital, whoever runs the places will literally say like, oh, like why are we buying this, like why aren't we cooking with this, it's cheaper. So they literally don't care. I care. We care. So you can read a book. It's called a short guide to a long life, or end to illness, which is another link right there. And then optimizing your BDNF. Fast correctly. So the effects on 4 week fasting and from dawn to sunset. And this is like Ramadan type stuff. So it's like, why are they all healthier? There's a lot of research behind it. But fasting correctly, consuming a high protein diet, prioritizing your social connections. There's actually even a community that the medical community was studying, and they found it. I don't remember where it was. I can't remember where all of this information comes from. But once again, do your own research. Don't trust me at all. But prioritizing your social connections, there was a community and they ate really healthy. They would eat everything that was in season, and they were all talking to each other. They were the most social community, and they had the healthiest. I forget what they tested, but it was like off the charts of health. And I don't remember what it is. I apologize. But control stress and inflammation levels. This is where in the neuroprogression, the hidden mechanics of depression talks about an increased immune response. When you look at the foods that we're consuming that are filled with all of these terrible ingredients, and you look at the gut microbiome community having a negative impact from all of these foods, you realize that your immune response is going off the chart. Stress is bad. Stress kills. So if stress kills, meditate. Find Zen, never stress again. Like that's why I tell people to meditate an hour every single day for an entire year. That's why I tell them to fast. There's a lot of things that you're going to be able to achieve when you try these because they work. I'm not here to tell you shit that doesn't work that I haven't tried. Everything that I'm telling you, I've tried, and I've experienced significant changes in my life and in my cognition. Obviously, you might think that my cognition has been here all along. No, I used to be dumb as crap, eating crap. I literally ate garbage and was garbage. So here's the stuff you can do to not be garbage. Now, restrict carbohydrate intake. This is where we go into like intermittent fasting, where we're depleting our glycogen stores, we're cleaning up the excess proteins in our body, we're getting over onto our ketones, we're operating on 2.1 times the mitochondrial energy, we're stimulating neurogenesis, we're stimulating neuroplasticity, we're stimulating our brain derived neurotropic factor, we're letting our gut microbiome community take a break from all of the terrible foods that we're usually consuming. And if you're genuinely eating bad food and you're still watching this, you should probably consider throwing out all of that food and starting over, because that is what's holding you back. I literally contribute everything in my life to fasting and eating healthier. So breathe fresh air, get naked in the sun. Might sound weird, but it's not. So breathing fresh air means getting out in nature. You can read the book called The 3 Day Effect if you don't believe me, but go check out the book. Drinking coffee or taking berry supplements. There's a lot of research behind medium roast coffee. Read the book Caffeine by Michael Pollan. Read Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Do not drink your caffeine too close to bedtime, because what he said in that book is that when you're having too much caffeine, you're actually reducing your deep sleep waves by roughly 30%. So you're not even getting into that restoration of sleep. Your short term to your long term memory is affected because you're not sleeping effectively. And that is where your short term turns into long term, is when you're in bed. It's not you just learn something and you magically remember it. That short term turns to long term when you're sleeping. So it's really important that if you're educating yourself to sleep properly every single night. So for all of this to work, the fasting, the meditating, the breathing, the Wim Hof, the yoga, sleeping correctly, reading books on the weekend, all of this stuff is compounding interest to make your life better. Now, exercise vigorously. This is just simply about your heart rate, getting your heart rate up. That's the most important part. That's like one of the big things about producing the brain derived neurotropic factor is vigorous exercise, high intensity interval training. So hit. But then once again, don't do hit classes, because if you got a 6 foot person and a 5 foot person doing the same exercises, that doesn't really make sense. Now, this page is about depression and anxiety, finding light in the darkness. Like if you're depressed, you're probably living in a very dark place and you've figured out how to live in that dark place. And along the way to finding light, you will find secrets and you will be able to bring those to other people. And that's why I say this, the hidden mechanics of depression. I literally reverse engineered that research paper, and you can watch the video. It's 26 minutes long and might sound crazy, but guess what? Try it and then see what happens. So, if you're not experiencing depression and anxiety, this page is not designed for you. I spent 2 years dropping myself into a deep depression where I literally was waking up in the morning and eating ice cream, fast food, drinking sugary beverages, doing things I shouldn't have done. I wasn't meditating, I wasn't fasting, I wasn't taking the cold showers, I wasn't doing anything that I tell other people to do, because I really wanted to know that if I did this over a long period of time, if my mental status would just decrease. And there were times where I was scared that I was not going to be able to get myself out, and you're going to be able to look up somebody online that does he gets like really overweight to lose weight with somebody, and you can literally see him after he eats garbage laying on his floor saying, ugh, like I feel so terrible. And you do, because your belly's your brain, and if you feed yourself garbage, your brain's going to be garbage. It's just how it works. So I followed a research paper here, Neuroprogression, the Hidden Mechanics of Depression. That's a research paper that you can watch the video, you can read through the research paper. It's going to make sense, but I don't advise anyone to do this stuff, so just don't do it. But depressive disorder is considered a potentially aggressive state of neuronal deterioration involving apoptosis, which is cellular death. It's dysfunctional apoptosis, so like cells that shouldn't die are dying. Considered a potentially aggressive state, a reduced neurogenesis, reduced neuronal plasticity, and the increased immune response. So that's where it's like, oh, fasting like helps all of these. So that's when I started to get into fasting, because I realized the main 4 complaints in this research paper were all going to be changed when you started fasting. Now, I spent 4 years learning everything I could about this research paper. It's characterized by dejection, loss of pleasure, general disinterest, reduced energy, fatigue, sleep appetite discomfort, just sleep appetite disorders, somatic discomfort, which is like bodily pains, concentration, memory failure, guilt, low self-esteem, poor vision of the future, and comorbidity with other diseases, possibly suicide. And at my lowest point, I was sleeping in a bed and I would sleep my weekends away, and the only time I would get up is to go pee. So that's my lowest end depression. Just so depressed that I wouldn't even get out of bed all weekend. And the only time I would get up is to not pee the bed, because it just, yeah, peeing the bed would have just not been good, because then I couldn't lay in the bed. So that was literally the only reason that I got up to move, is because I didn't want to pee the bed. So, I don't know where everybody's low is for depression, but that was mine. Now, right here it mentions dysfunctional apoptosis, meaning cells that should not die are dying. Reduced neurogenesis means less brain cells are being produced on a daily basis. Reduced neuronal plasticity. We have a hard time adapting to new thoughts. Think about why the old generation doesn't like all of these changes that the young generation's going through. Like, oh, like people want to be like no gender. Like, congratulations, the world's changing. You're old and your brain doesn't work anymore. So you're going to phase out in time. Like the young are always going to be in charge of the reality that is being created. So neuroplasticity helps you adapt to all of these changing things in society. So don't get stressed out because people are doing something that you don't like that they do. Now, increased immune response due to the lifestyle and food and stress. Like if you have stress, you will increase your immune response. Like stress causes inflammation. It is bad. Dejection. So feelings of sadness. And it says, whoops, sorry about that. It's making me spell check. But feelings of sadness, low spirits, like the future is not going to be a beautiful place. Inability to feel pleasure is actually real and dangerous. Like you do stuff and you feel nothing. That is a real place for a lot of people. It was a real place for me. Now, general disinterest. We both know what this means if you've been depressed. You genuinely have interest in absolutely nothing. People are like, try this. And you're like, yeah, that sounds like great. Like, why? And then you don't do it. So reduced energy, if you're depressed, you know what I mean. Sleep and eating issues, like how bad is your diet really? How late do you actually stay up? Because those things matter. Somatic discomfort, possibly headaches, constant body pain. I used to get headaches all the time. I've never had a headache in years and years. I've never had a stomach ache in years. Think about it. If you're eating the wrong foods, headaches are normal, stomach aches are normal. Why do you think that is? Do your own research, find out why. But hint, hint, gut microbiome health. Concentration and memory. See neurogenesis, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, neuroplasticity, and meditation. Guilt and low self-esteem. Yeah, I had that written all over me. It defined me. So like self-love affirmations, poor vision of the future, self-love affirmations. They literally program your brain while you sleep at night. So if you told me I'd be sitting here today in a coffee shop writing this PDF that I believe would change the world, I would laugh at you and go play video games. Because that's all I did was play video games and drink garbage and eat garbage and spend my time with other garbage people that were going nowhere because we would just talk about all the things that we could be doing in life rather than doing them. Moving on, fasting. The bigger the belly, the smaller the brain. So, what does fasting 20 hours a day every single day for an entire year sound like? What about fasting for 3 to 5 days at the beginning of every single month? Unless you're looking to lose weight or suffering from obesity, depression, and anxiety or gut related issues, this might sound crazy. Because, like, why would you not eat food? Like, I literally could not think about not eating a sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin every morning because I was like, I gotta eat. I'm hungry. So I would go eat. And I was literally being controlled by my gut microbiome. So, like, bacteria was smarter than my brain. My belly was controlling my life. Like I'm thinking, but nope, my gut was controlling me. So, according to research, when you don't have food in your body begins to feed on itself in a beneficial way. This is called autophagy, which also triggers apoptosis. The main important of fasting is reduced glycation and AGEs. When you consume sugar throughout the day, sugar binds to your bodily proteins, rendering them dysfunctional. Unless you fast, your body is filled with useless proteins. The main reason fasting is known to improve cognitive functioning is because it actually cleans your brain, and those are the beta amyloid plaques. The increased cellular output is accompanied by increased neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, and most importantly, your brain derived neurotrophic factor. Autophagy and apoptosis. We're going to learn about apoptosis today. No, apoptosis, sorry. Occurs to destroy old, malfunctioning, and mutated cells, thus protecting your DNA and fighting cancer. Fasting has even been shown in studies to preserve healthy cells during chemotherapy. So, like when people are getting chemo and it's like destroying them, fasting will help you keep your healthy cells alive. So, the main importance of fasting is to correct insulin resistance, which is your insulin set body weight. So, when people are trying to lose weight, their insulin set body weight, you have to fast to change that insulin set body weight and get to an appropriate weight. And then your body will fluctuate based on the overall circulating insulin in your body. So, reducing visceral belly fat, which once again, visceral belly fat is inflammatory and that is not good and shrinks the hippocampus. Improve depressive symptoms, improve anxiety symptoms, clear plaque out of your brain, improve glucose utilization so you can keep going. I can keep going, but I'd like you to do your own research. Yeah, sorry. We coined the phrase mind your gut, keep your mind at this point. It's basically like after testing a bunch of people's gut microbiome, after re-inoculating my own gut microbiome, after helping other people re-inoculate their gut microbiome, it's pretty clear that your belly is your brain, and your belly is a mediator of a lot of things that may not be happening correctly in your life because you might be feeding it wrong. And if you're feeding it wrong, anxiety, depression, no brain-derived neurotropic factor, good luck. Like literally, good luck. Because if you're not eating right, you genuinely have a harder time learning. It's like factual. At least it was for me. I didn't learn anything. Somebody told me, hey, go do this. You can do this. Like, you'd be so great if you applied yourself. And I said, I'm going to play video games now and just keep doing all the things I shouldn't. Now, the phrase the bigger the belly, the smaller the brain was due to belly fat being linked to a smaller hippocampus. There's proof that carrying around extra belly fat actually increases your chance of mortality, which is extra belly fat, mortality risk goes up. So, eating these unhealthy foods can harm the gut microbiome, putting you at risk for disease and illness. Think about it this way. You can either, here's a key phrase, wake up, don't eat, let your glycogen deplete, or go straight to food, never allowing your body to deplete its carbs and sugar stores from the day previously. And if you do this for a number of days in a row or a number of months in a row, you will gain a significant amount of weight. And the main thing to understand here is that fasting's hard at first. Since fasting hard, here's part two. Because genuinely fasting is very hard for a lot of people. When you're not consuming the foods that taste really great, you're not going to have that dopamine response. So when you transition to eating healthier foods, you're just genuinely not going to like it at all. You're going to be used to eating foods and having a massive dopamine spike. They literally put people in MRI machines or the fMRI machines. I don't exactly remember which one it is. I think it was an FRI machine. Might be. Pretty sure it's an fMRI machine. And then they feed people foods like we'll just say read the book called The Dorito Effect. Read the book called The Taste That Kills, and then realize that that's why food tastes good, huh? I thought it was actually just good. Nope, it's just filled with a bunch of terrible ingredients. And when everyone gives me backlash for saying like, "Hey, monosodium glutamate's bad," it's bad because it's like hiding all the garbage. It's like, oh, I've got a bunch of garbage, but like, let's just throw a blanket over it and look, it's a nice, neat thing. No, it's literally covering garbage. So this is so now fasting is crucial. I composed this second page. At the moment, I only eat once a day, or OMAD, and I do that because of my own purposes and my own lifestyle that I live. Please do not follow me. Talk to your doctor, talk to your PCP, talk to somebody much smarter and educated than me. So, to lessen glycation and AGE production, which is an important thing for aging. This is also where like you'll have muscle preservation through fasting. No, you're not going to turn into a skinny little twig. Yes, I was 220. Yes, I fasted down to 162 and I'm like 179 right now. I'm going up to about 190-ish, 192 because that's where I feel the strongest and healthiest. Like I like the way that I fucking look in the mirror when I'm about 192 to 195. So I'm gonna go back up there, nice and slow. You do not need to instant gratification your health. That is not going to be sustainable long term. That's why when people try diets, they don't work because it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. Because sometimes, AKA fasting, it's not about what you're putting into your body, it's what you're taking out of your body and how long you're taking it out of your body. It's not what you eat, it's when you eat. There's a lot of things that you're going to learn as we continue to read through this PDF. So, the process of glycation occurs when simple sugars combine with bodily proteins, causing damage, malfunction, and they become resistant to normal replacement. Excess cooking of AGE rich foods can contribute to glycation. Now imagine having tons of useless trash in your body sit there for years. Example of foods that are high in AGEs: processed sugars, meat, dairy, deep fried foods, baked foods, processed foods, and lunch meats. You'll go through a process as you decide to fast called intermetabolic switching when you initially begin fasting. And this is where a lot of people experience hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. It's why there's a Snickers commercial that says, "Hungry? Eat a Snickers." Or like, "You're not yourself. Like, here's a Snickers." Because it is very true that when people fast, they will get a little bit aggressive because you are hypoglycemic. So you do have low blood sugar because your body is not used to utilizing ketones. So you're going through intermetabolic switching and eventually become fat adapted to the point where, oh, I don't have to eat for a week. Okay, cool, that's great. Like I saw those challenges online, and it's like if whoever had to outfast somebody, I'd be hard pressed to say I wouldn't win that. I mean, obviously somebody that had a lot more body weight, that had a lot more food on their, a lot more food in their body. Fat is, your food. They might win, but I'd be hard pressed for that. Anyways, I digress. So your body is currently learning how to burn fat as energy. To aid your body transitioning from carbs and sugars, think about consuming more B5. Due to the brain's inability to adequately function on ketones, you may experience hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, hangry, a very real word. Do not eat a Snickers to solve this problem. The most essential thing is to realize when you fast, your gut microbiome community changes, which is why, which may cause stomach discomfort. There are actual links between the gut and the brain that you can feel. You'll find that you're urinating a lot more when you're fasting, just because you're not sugars, salts, water. They all have a harmonious relationship in your body. So when you're not consuming those, you're going to be peeing a lot more, which is going to decrease your water soluble vitamins. So when I do OMAD, for a lot of people, OMAD is challenging. And once again, talk to your doctor, talk to your PCP, work with our dietitian. She'll tell you whether or not that's actually the right thing to do. I'm not here to tell you that you should be doing this, but that's what I do, and that's what works best for me, and that's what makes me feel great. That's what keeps me regular pooping every single morning when I wake up. That's what keeps me the best shape I've been in my life, and I'm 32, so I'm going to continue to be the best shape in my life. But consider talking to a doctor, talking to a PCP, or just work with our dietitian, and we'll help you build all this stuff out. That's what we're here for. So now, fasting part 3. I actually haven't finished fasting part 3 because I started writing this today because I have a problem with over delivering on information. But the bigger the belly, the smaller the brain. Let me give you a daily process when I began fasting. So, same thing. I fasted for 20 hours a day every single day for an entire year. I would not eat for 3 to 5 days at the beginning of every single month. I would not consume food until after I exercised. And the reason for this is because when you wake up in the morning, your cells are about here. And then when you start to fast, they open up. And then when you start to exercise, they open up even more. So when you consume your sugars and you have IGF-1 circulating around, you can absorb it. That's why whenever people have type 2 diabetes, their insulin resistance, their cells can't absorb the sugar. So they give you insulin so it makes your cell grow so you can put more sugar in there, which is like completely counterproductive to losing weight. That's why there is a natural reversal for type 2 diabetes. All versions of weight loss are able to be done through food, fasting. Maybe keto is right for you. I don't know you. I don't know who's watching this right now. So have a conversation and we can find out what's right, because there is a solution to all of these things that people are experiencing. And what I mean by all of these things would mean weight related problems, unless you're having like problems with your thyroid. And then maybe we can test your thyroid hormones and figure it out. There's answers. So I wake up and I would consume 30 calories of almond milk with a B complex. So looking for B5, mainly pantothenic acid, pantotheric acid, however you want to describe it, it's a word. So cycle a small green tea every other day or black coffee, your choice. Yes, there is a lot of research behind black coffee not being as beneficial for a fast, just because there are amino acids in there that will affect a fast, will affect autophagy levels. But once again, do your own research. And then if you have a CYA1P2 gene that shows up in our nutrigenomics tests, if you have that, you're only supposed to be consuming 195 milligrams of caffeine in a day. And then after, once again, you can either believe it or not believe it. There's people that tell you that it's fake. There's stuff that tells you it's real. So I've always cautioned on the side that, okay, that's real. That's great. I'm not going to do that. May it be right? May it be wrong? I'm not really worried that I can't just sit there and drink caffeine all day and, run off of caffeine. So with caffeine specifically, don't have it when you wake up. Allow your body to naturally wake up. Let your cortisol level go down. Don't be like, cortisol, man, more cortisol. Like, let your body wake up naturally and then have caffeine later if you need it. Do not use caffeine to wake yourself up, because what's happening is, if you read Why We Sleep, you read Michael Pollan, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, Michael Pollan, caffeine, you're going to realize that you're creating a feedback loop where when you wake up in the morning, you have the adenosine floating around in your brain, and your adenosines to like make you tired. Uh, it dilates your blood vessels so you can like pump blood. You can breathe oxygen because you're not breathing very much when you sleep. So your blood vessels have to be expanded so it can get that oxygen through your body. Because like, you ever hear somebody sleep, they're like, it's like they're barely even breathing. When you're having that caffeine, it constricts all of that. And then when you wake up in the morning and you have all that adenosine floating around, you're like, I'm so sleepy. Coffee. Boom, coats the receptors. You're not actually awake. You just feel like you're awake. So, do your own research with caffeine, medium roast, black coffee, no sugars, no creams, none of that stuff. But I would head off to a landscaping job, because I could read a book a day working at a landscaping job. I could get my hour of meditation in. When everyone else went to lunch, I went and sat under a tree and meditated. So I was exercising, reading, able to meditate. So in the beginning half of my day, I got exercise out of the way, I got my book out of the way, I got my meditation out of the way, and then whenever I got off work, I could start working on my dreams. So, whatever you're doing with your life, you choose. You're in control. You're creating all of this. This is your life, not mine. I'm just here to teach you things that changed mine. Drink water. So when you're fasted, you're going to notice that you're going to pee more. So when I was drinking water, I was like, okay, like, all right, like, I'm just sitting here peeing a lot. So you're going to realize your water intake is going to be a little bit different. And there's math behind water calculations. So meditate 1 hour over lunch, drink water, get off, and then I would head to the gym. So even though I was doing a physical exercise during the day, I would still work out at the very end because of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And then we put in a calculator here for heart rate. And then exercise does not always mean the gym. This is the part that I needed to finish. So give me 1 second. Let me finish this for you. All right. So finishing up the exercise and fasting part 3. On the bigger the belly, the smaller the brain. Because you just don't want to have that stuff. So just look down. What? We got a problem? We can solve that shit real fast. So exercise does not always mean the gym. When I joined the military, I was basically indoctrinated into being a gym bro, and I thought that the gym was the only thing to do. I could deadlift like 500 pounds, but I couldn't reach past my knees. I could reach past my knees, but I couldn't touch my ground. So I had no idea what yoga was. And then I literally was just a gym bro lifting all day. So this is where there's some different exercises, right? You can go on a 2 hour long bike ride. And I wouldn't suggest a 2 hour long bike ride at first, because your legs are going to feel like jelly and it's going to suck. So start slow, gradually introduce these things into your life. I genuinely stopped exercising for 6 months just because I really wanted to see what it was like to start exercising again. And it's like literally impossible. I would have somebody text me and I'd be like, "Oh, I can call them and leave," and I would only exercise for 15 minutes. So trust me, if you're not exercising on a daily basis, it's going to be hard. It's not easy. But after about 45 days, habits of a happy brain, 63 days, the book called The One Thing, if you're fasting and doing all the other things, your neuroplasticity is going to go up. So it's going to be a little bit more than 45 to, it's going to be a little bit less than 45 to 60 days. But you're going to be able to build those habits. And then it's just going to be like going to the gym all along. Like, I no longer will eat until I have gone to the gym. And I feel weird when I don't go to the gym and I eat. Like, I have that like mental barrier built that I have to exercise before I eat. That's what I'm going to do until I die. So 2 hour bike rides in the morning. For me, that was just a way to read a book and exercise at the same time. Don't kill any birds with stones, but kill two birds with one stone. We all heard that one before. I don't really get it, but it's just a saying. So this means you're listening to a book, and you can listen to the book on a faster speed. You're literally going to be able to finish half of a book before the rest of the world is even awake. You got your exercise out of the way, you got your book out of the way. And the reason people are going to be waking up at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. is because I promise you, when your life starts to get really busy and you have a lot of responsibilities, that's the only time you're going to be able to get stuff done. Because when everyone else wakes up, your attention is just going boom, 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 boom. And if you're an entrepreneur, you understand what I mean. Your attention is literally being pulled everywhere. So wake up really early and get a lot of shit done, or you're just not going to have time to do it. Example. So, moving on from this, you can maybe meditate, right? I suggest meditation in the afternoon because your brain in the morning is in its theta and delta states, and in the afternoon it's like an alpha beta, and you could put it back into theta and delta. Really important there. But if you genuinely meditate for the hour in the morning, do it. Have fun. But I suggest it in the afternoon. Yoga is a great form of exercise due to the fact that most people cannot even touch the ground with their hands. And I used to be a gym bro, so trust me, yoga is amazing. But if you want to go one level deeper than yoga, it's going to lead me to telling you about Qigong, Qigong. And I learned this book from something called the telomere effect. And I was like, what is this? There are so many benefits behind Qigong that is absolutely insane. But it's one of those things that if you like go out to the park and do it, you're going to feel really weird. So if you have social anxiety, I wouldn't suggest qigong. I wouldn't start with qigong. Maybe do it in your house, but the best thing with qigong is like doing it outside, not in a park, because I actually recently learned this. A lot of parks, they spray a shit ton of chemicals on the grass. So if you go somewhere and there's not natural weeds growing, don't do anything in the grass. Don't meditate in the grass, don't yoga in the grass, don't qigong in the grass. You're literally qigonging on top of chemicals. So just don't do that. And you thought the food were the ingredients. No, 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 no. The stuff you rub on your body and the stuff you step on with your feet. Because if you're going in the grass, there's a thing called grounding, and that's very real. There's ion differences between shoes and socks and no shoes and socks. We can go down the rabbit hole with shoes and socks, but we'll save that for another day. Anyways, Qigong, the telomere effect. Also, being flexible and mindful and paying attention to your breath. Like, how many times did you breathe in the past 30 seconds? You probably don't know and you're unaware. What did I say 9 sentences ago? You probably also don't know and you're unaware. So, are we both here listening, or are we just trying to find the words that speak to us? So, mindfulness and flexibility all in the same place is amazing. Consider swimming because it's a low impact exercise where you can fully exhaust yourself and you're going to be able to do it for the rest of your life. That's why they talk about biking in neurogenesis. As a low impact exercise. You're not going to hurt your knees. You're not going to hurt your body. You're going to be able to do it for a very long time. So please just understand getting your heart rate up is the most important part of any exercise regimen. You do not have to have a gym bro body. Me personally, I don't know. I like having abs. I like having little different parts of my body, and people look at you in the gym and it just feels good. So for exercise, just get your heart rate up, drink plenty of water, and do what feels right. You don't have to do the same thing as everybody else because I promise you, if you do the same thing that everyone else tells you that you should do, you're eventually going to not be happy doing that anymore, and there's not going to be a lot of long-term sustainability there. So up next on the PDF, we have autoimmune and cold water therapy, which a lot of people that suffer with autoimmune or inflammatory-based conditions can benefit from this heavily. And it's actually called respiratory alkalosis. That's like the medical terminology for it. But many people know it as the Wim Hof method. So taking cold showers on a regular basis can help strengthen your immune system. It encourages the production of anti-inflammatory markers. And I found this from the research paper, The Neuroprogression, the Hidden Mechanics of Depression. I saw that there was an increased immune response. So when I started to dive into all of the things that were going to decrease our immune response by promoting anti-inflammatory responses, I came across the Wim Hof method. And I was like, cold showers, never have I ever. And it's like a total nightmare at first. Like, it is not fun. The best way that I've learned the cold showers is start your water like lukewarm, put your arms in, do the hokey pokey with your shower. Literally. You put your left foot in, you take your left foot out, and that's like you do that for like 45 seconds, and then you crank that shit to cold as possible, and then you grow up, and then you go into it because it's healthy for you. And then you will literally feel your breathing taken away from you. Right there, boom, anxiety response. When people are crying, guess what? Their breathing goes sporadic. When they have anxiety, their breathing goes sporadic. When they're angry, their breathing. Mediators of emotions, This thing. So when we go into the cold water, you're going to have that response where you literally cannot breathe. That is why you go back to the breath. Breath is life. Breathing is literally going to save your life. So with the cold showers, I always put the cold water right here where your third eye would be, and you're going to convulse in the shower. Like you're going to convulse in the shower. It's going to feel really uncomfortable. It's not fun at all. For a guy, you know where it's probably going to feel the most uncomfortable, to the point where I have taken people out to do the Wim Hof method with them, and they get to about, halfway on their thighs, and then they start freaking out and they're like, I can't do this. So just do it. It's okay. Nobody's watching. And if they are, it's totally a fun joke because you can like, look, it's so small. Anyways, cold water here. Now, main benefits of this, yeah, try it yourself. So, which aid in the treatment of autoimmune conditions and inflammatory conditions. You'll gain more brown fat. And the brown fat is what's in babies. That's why babies don't have the neurological connections for shivering. So they have brown fat. And that's why they don't shiver. So we lose access to that as we age, and then we shiver. So the Wim Hof method is going to make you not shiver. It's really awesome. And this is one thing that I also learned whenever I was working out of a coffee shop every single day, living in my car. So a lot of this shit that I learned, it was just I read some crazy stuff and I was like, awesome, I'm gonna go sit outside in the winter in a t-shirt with some shorts on, and people probably thought I was crazy. But I literally would take out a pen and paper. I would write down my breaths, my retentions, my breath, my retentions, my breaths, my retentions, and my heartbeats. And then I would track that stuff. And then I'd go outside and then I would pay attention to how I feel. So the Wim Hof method, is it right for you? Is it wrong for you? I don't know. Talk to your doctor, talk to your PCP, talk to somebody smarter than me, but I know your doctor probably doesn't know who the Wim Hof is, because they only started introducing that to med school textbooks about 3 years ago, I think, as the Iceman. And doctors aren't going to school to solve your problems naturally. They're like, oh, that's cool, but what's a pill? Anyways, which is more metabolically active, allowing you to burn more calories and stay warm. Starting with cold showers as soon as you finish reading this, even if they're just for 30 seconds. Literally, try them. So, the first and most critical realization is that no one knows everything. This is why the homeostasis diet emphasizes finding other people who live the crazy life. Every person on this planet has a piece of the puzzle in their possession. Wim Hof is one of them. So, check out this research paper here, which is the voluntary activation of your sympathetic nervous system and an innate immune response in humans. And then check out this book right here, which is a link to the Iceman's book. So, when you think of cytokines, think of immune system cells that have an effect on other cells. You either have pro inflammatory or anti inflammatory symptoms. Cold water boosts anti inflammatory responses. Cold water causes anxiety. However, it is a self induced version of anxiety, which is processed differently in your brain. This is why the Wim Hof method is going to help you deal with anxiety, because you're literally inducing anxiety in your brain naturally. Oh, look, hey, everybody that wanted to see my hair, yeah, it's not there. My parents ate shit. So, water turns on your pineal gland. There is activation there. And then guess what? Your vagus nerve. They are literally talking about putting vagal nerve stimulators in people that are depressed that can't solve their problems. They are literally already telling that people can take mushrooms that are depressed because they don't want to solve their problems. So trust me, if you don't solve your problems naturally, somebody's going to introduce something to you. They're going to monetize it. They're going to make it obviously illegal, and then they're going to figure out how to sell it to you. Like people are literally getting medical marijuana for anxiety. Yeah, that's weird. Anyways, got depression? Take a cold shower. Got anxiety? Take a cold shower. Being a crybaby? Take a damn cold shower and join the dark side. JK. Join the I care about myself side. Now, subconscious affirmations. Okay, these absolutely changed my life. And I'll tell you a little quick story. This is back whenever I was working at a landscaping company, and I don't know, I was the guy that wore headphones, and nobody liked me because I didn't make friends with them and talk about all the nonsense they would talk about. Like, I would literally take off my headphones and I'd hear what they're talking about, and I'd just be like, ugh, it's so low vibration. And I'd put my headphones back on. Subconscious affirmations, self love affirmations by Rising Higher Meditation. There's a link right there for you. But the best way to explain these is that somebody said something negative to me. And I was rather intelligent, and I was aware that I was intelligent because I read books and I could completely understand exactly how to say something back to a person to make them emotionally upset. Because a majority of people operate in their emotional part of their brain and they don't know how to logically process life. They just feel their way through life instead of think their way through life. Feelings aren't bad, but sometimes feelings aren't the most appropriate way to solve a problem. They're the way to create the problem. So when I started listening to self love affirmations, there was literally one day when somebody blamed me for something, and I saw the keys out of the corner of my eye, and they're like, "Oh, well, Josh probably lost them." And I would normally reply back with something negative, like a negative swear word or some sort of something, where I'd be like, this or that. I'm not going to say that, but the way that I responded, I was like, I realize that I have often been the one that caused problems, but if you actually took a couple seconds and you looked over there, you would see that they're actually sitting in the lock on the door. I was like, please don't talk to me anymore. Thank you. And I turned to my friend and I said, dude, they're working. And he didn't really understand at all. And that was actually one of my friends. Whenever I was trying to build an idea, it was actually some fitness name before, and he actually passed away. And I tried to help him a lot. He was, with a person that was addicted to drugs. He was also addicted to drugs. His grandma actually passed away. He got $50,000, and guess what? Somebody with addictions to the wrong things, bad stuff happens. Anyways, whenever that person passed away, I actually stopped the word fitness because I realized maybe some people really aren't going to understand what I'm talking about if I use the word fitness. They're going to think it's about exercise, and it's not about exercise, it's about a lifestyle. So, self love affirmations. Let's get into what we say on here 5% versus 95%. So, just how about 90 to 95% of your serotonin is produced in your gut microbiome, therefore, eating the wrong foods, your liver is not producing the serotonin. So, good luck being happy. The 5% here is considered your conscious awake state. The 95% of here is your subconscious state that you're not aware of. It's what is literally driving you through a day. It's why one person in traffic gets stressed out and the other person in traffic is just like, oh, more time to read books. And I highly suggest reading books when you're driving in a car. Turn your car into an education on wheels. Listening to music, save that stuff as a reward. Don't just reward yourself all day with going to the crappy job you hate. Educate yourself with a book on the way there so you can eventually quit that job. Now, self love affirmations. According to science, our brain is in a hypnotic state between the ages of 1 and 7. As adults, we can only access this state while sleeping or getting hypnotherapy. Affirmations are a lifelong practice that will effortlessly direct your thoughts towards the future you desire. 95% of where you're going is because you literally are thinking a thought that you've been taught. So it's not what you see, it's what you know about what you see because that's how you feel. So that's why people interact differently with reality. It's vibrational frequencies. It's literally a multiverse all in one place. I will wake up tomorrow happy because guess what? Tonight I'm going to be listening to the self love affirmations that I'm telling you to listen to right here. And if you don't follow me on TikTok, you'll realize that I play these every single night because it's real and I practice what I preach. So if I'm going to preach to this and I'm going to teach you this, then you should do it too because I do it too and it works. And if it doesn't work for you, then I don't know, maybe you didn't listen. So, anyways, the primary cause of discomfort is learning the majority of our thoughts that we have been taught don't actually work. So we get older and we realize all of these things that people told us don't work. And then we get usually frustrated and angry, or at least I got frustrated and angry whenever I wasn't in the place that I wanted to be in and I wanted to get there faster. You can't get there, there's no shortcuts. So we will wake up every day using these thoughts until we reprogram them. Subconscious affirmations while sleeping are one of the most powerful ways to reprogram the way we experience reality. When we are young, our brains exist in theta and delta phase. This is why babies sleep all the time. As we get older, we gain access to alpha and beta brainwaves. This is the reason we can focus on one task throughout the day. The programming phase ends around age 8. This is when we become conscious. You will, and this is like Bruce Lipton, The Belief of Biology. You're more than welcome to go look up a source here. There's plenty of people that talk about it. Norman D. Hodge, The Brain That Changes Itself. Every single neuroscience research will validate majority of this. So have fun, do your own research, or just listen to me because I did it for you. So you now use all of these thoughts you've been taught, like not talking to strangers when strangers literally give you everything. Like you think and own. They give you everything. Like I'm here giving you something as a stranger, and it may or may not be currently changing your life. You may or may not be taking notes. Most people that are smart take notes because there's always a small little takeaway. You read a book once, awesome. You're going to learn something from it. Go read 500 books and then reread that first book you read, and I guarantee you're going to see things that you didn't know whenever you reread that book. So how do you reprogram? Watch the video located on the page here. And then stop fighting an uphill battle and listen to subconscious affirmations when you sleep at night. Reinforce these affirmations when you sleep during the day to the point where you'll literally, weirdly enough, be able to repeat the words and you'll know what's being said next. And it totally doesn't make sense, but it's actually what's being said next. The thoughts you've been taught are your parents. The thoughts you've been taught by your parents define your palette of thinking. Why do you think someone grew up in a bad environment magically turns out to be a bad human? It's in their programming. The thoughts they have been taught about the world are real to them. It's like the first person who decided to join my one on one program. I told him $4,000 a month is easy. And he looks at me like, what did you say? When we are taught a specific stream of thoughts, all the other ones sound crazy. Does it sound crazy to believe that you can change everything about your life when you're sleeping? I think not. So give it a try. Now, meditation in the default mode network. This is the next one. A lot of people will tell you to do a 15-minute meditation, a 30-minute meditation. I mean, you can do that if you want. However, I would like to separate the connection with my amygdala to all of the other actions and reactions in my body to the point where I'm not scared or I don't experience anxiety or fear anymore, which is very real. And I started learning meditation in a coffee shop. I would literally sit down for an hour in a coffee shop and constantly do this, go And I even have a YouTube video here where I sit down for an hour under a tree and meditate with you just to show you that it's possible. So don't cheat yourself. Do what works. And you're more than welcome to go look up the default mode network research. So, big takeaways here would be doing nothing is doing everything. Like fasting, you're doing nothing, it's doing everything. Meditating, you're doing nothing, it's doing everything. Subconscious affirmations, you're doing nothing, they're doing everything. So far, I've given you three different things that require zero effort. Obviously, fasting's hard. Obviously, meditating for an hour, everyone complains and says that it's too hard. I can't stop thinking. Congratulations. Neither can everybody that hasn't done it for like 90 days. You're constantly going to be able to think thoughts. Where you are now versus where you're going to be if you decide to try these things is two different places. So you're here now, and then you're going to be here now in the future, which is the here that you want to be. So, do you hear what I'm saying? Because you're here right now. Anyways, why are monks some of the most peaceful people? Would you believe that 1 hour meditation per day could result in complete tranquility? From personal experience, I opened my eyes on the 26th day and felt my entire world change. Meditation is one of the reasons I am able to create a TikTok video that goes viral. Like, I don't really think about it, I don't worry about it, and I am separated away from the thoughts of others. The best and worst they're ever going to do is think a thought. It's up to me whether or not that thought matters, and I'm showing up here for you. If you're listening to this and watching this, I'm here for you. Everyone else, whatever. You don't like me? Congratulations. Get in line. I'm not worried about that. You like me? Congratulations. I hope I get a chance to change your life even more. So, meditating is going to help you not have all these fears and all of these anxieties that somebody taught you to have. They taught you a thought and you're thinking it. So, if you don't want to think those thoughts, meditate about those thoughts and realize that they're not yours. They're someone else's. And now you're living the life that they told you to live, not the one that you want to live. We could sit here all day and go in circles. I'm going to continue reading. So, TikTok video. I have tons of trauma that prevents me from believing in myself. This trauma creates anxiety when I try to do something I've never done before. And a good example is this PDF. I literally was supposed to finish it like 2 months ago. But here I am, literally creating page after page after page after page after page after page because if I don't give you every piece of the puzzle, you're going to sit there and be like, oh, okay, here's one part. What's next? And then you're like, well, I don't know, because I didn't teach you. So I'm trying to give you every little piece of the puzzle that you're going to be able to use to change everything. Because this is a lifestyle. It's getting back to homeostasis. It's a homeostatic line. And that line over the next 5 years is either doing the right thing or the wrong thing, or doing nothing, because the universe doesn't care. Guarantee you that much. So choosing to meditate will help you alleviate anxiety and fear. The amygdala is an important center in our body to understand. If you decide to start your journey of meditation, let me leave you with a few tips. Watch this video here, which is me meditating for an hour with you. So find a place you are comfortable in. Decide if you want to use headphones or not. Me personally, I started meditating in a coffee shop and I realized that my brain would hear things and I would be like, and I'd like look and then I'd realize that I was like, dang it, I'm not supposed to do that. So I put on headphones, I listen to water. So choose a sound that's soothing. I used water and rainforest sounds. Do not lay down. You'll fall asleep. I tried laying down and I'd wake up and I was like, dang, I'd like roll it over myself. So that didn't work. Sit up and keep your spine straight. And that's where you'll realize your body's going to start doing this. You're going to go, you're going to, you're going to hit those moments where you go to fall asleep, but you're not. That's actually good. And eventually in time, you will train yourself and not do those things. The most important thing to realize is how difficult this will be. You will no doubt fall asleep a few times if you're doing this correctly. You will notice your head dipping as if you are falling asleep. I first started this in a coffee shop. People probably thought I was on drugs falling asleep in the middle of the day, but guess what? Who cares? You're doing this entirely for yourself. Find a tree, sit by a tree for an hour, and I'll see you later. You're not weird for being healthy. They're weird for thinking you're weird for being healthy, which is actually funny. I discovered that phrase when somebody called me out for being weird when I was stretching at work one day. I said, I'm not weird. You're weird for thinking I'm weird for being healthy. Get away from me. And that's true. Like people are going to think you're weird. But guess what? You're going to get older. And that moment in time where they thought you were weird doesn't matter because that person that thought I was weird, they're still working at the same place and they've been there for like 5 years and they haven't changed their life at all. So it's like, yeah, congratulations. You were just spewing some random stupidness into the universe. And it was up to me whether or not the thought actually mattered. And to me, it didn't matter because I'm not going to let somebody think that I'm weird for being healthy. You're weird for thinking I'm weird for being healthy. So, no. All right. 1 second. So, mind dash fullness, because people use the word mindfulness, but what is your mind full of? So, why do we say mindfulness instead of mind dash fullness? What is your mind full of? The correct answers that led you to the correct location or the incorrect answers that led you to the incorrect location? Only you know the answer to that question. You're either where you want to be or not where you want to be, or you're heading to where you want to be with calculations. So the best part is that you already knew the answer to those questions. You know if you're there and you know if you're not there. You literally know those things. I can sit here all day and tell you how to do things, but you're not going to want to do those things unless you believe that they're true. So, let me give you a few books that really helped me understand I did not need more, I needed less. Because once again, we always think that putting something more into our life is what solves our problem. And actually, it's sometimes taking things away that, once again, we were taught a thought and we were thinking it. And we only think that we need that because we were taught that thought. And that is somebody else's thought, not yours. I genuinely thought that I needed to play video games every single day, all day long to be happy. And I did that. But guess what? That was an escape from my childhood because of trauma. And I'm an adult, and that's just not good. So, The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, Living in the Illusion and Fear of Truth by Osho, and Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I was an internalizer. You would never help me solve my problems, even if I had problems, which is like why therapy didn't work for me. If it works for you, then awesome. Go through it. Living in the Illusion and Fear of Truth. Um, the illusion behind me struggling with being poor. That is an illusion. It is literally a feedback loop in your brain where you can solve the problem. Like where if somebody's in a bad relationship and they want to leave that bad relationship, they don't leave that bad relationship. They convince themselves into this place where like, oh, it's not that easy. Yeah, it is. You get up and you leave, or you tell them, I don't want to talk to you anymore, and then you move on, and then you go through all their like negative lashbacks. And a great example of living in the illusion and fear of truth would be literally just being in a bad relationship and living in this illusion that things are going to get better, and you fear the ending of the relationship, so you don't want it to end, but you know it's going to end, so you just live in that illusion. You fear the truth of like we need to move on to better things, because anytime I've ever left somebody, it's always been a growth for me, not some sort of sad terrible feeling like just nothing. Even if they leave you, it's always a growing period. Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. That voice inside of your head, is it telling you to leave? Is it telling you that you can do better with your life? Is it telling you that you are not where you want to be? If it is, congratulations. Read those books in the reverse order now. Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, Living in the Illusion of Fear of Truth, and Children by Emotionally Immature Parents. And then read them in reverse. And guess what? You're going to learn things that you did not know. And among the things you learn, they may significantly impact your life because they did mine. So the voice inside of your mind the voice inside of your mind is the voice you have been taught, which is just a thought that you were thinking. You can change what your mind tells you. Uh, yeah, see, hold on. Sorry. Apparently, I just can't read. You can change what your mind tells you is real about reality. You're in full control, and you might not understand exactly what I mean, so let me give you three more books. Stalking the Wild Pendulum. For instance, there are vibrational energies coming out of my mouth that may or may not be useful to you. You hear these vibrational energies, and they may or may not be taking you to a better place. Once again, vibrational frequency, laws of attraction. You either learn from what I'm saying or you don't. It's either going to be positive, negative, or neutral. We literally have these on the side of our heads that are specifically designed to absorb vibrational energies in the form of sound that may or may not be useful for you. So, hope it's been useful so far. The heart of Buddha's teaching, transforming suffering into peace, joy, and liberation. That is literally what I'm doing here. I love doing this. I used to suffer. I had all of these terrible things, and liberation is sick. Where it's like, oh, you're depressed and suffering with money? Great, great, great. I literally had to choose between eating food or paying bills. And I would choose between paying bills and smoking weed. And guess what one I would choose? We'll be late on the bills because I'm addicted. So, yeah, read those. Metahuman, Unleashing Your Infinite Potential, and then The Compound Effect. Very good books. Those who read learn to see what they have, or this says, those who read learn to see the world is not what they thought it was. All right, now moving on. So these are some mindset books that you can read. Reading is fundamental. Reading is fun. Mental. So like if you want to break down words and say they mean something, then there's that like weird thing. It's fun, mental. Like it's fun for your mental brain because once you read books, you're gonna be able to see things that you could not see before. All right, mindset books. Untethered Soul, Living in the Illusion of Fear of Truth, The Infinite Game, The Decision, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, The Confidence Gap, The 3-Minute Rule, Thinking Fast and Slow, Start with Why, Leaders Eat Last, The Secret of Secrets, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and Living in a Place of Surrender, which is the Untethered Soul in Action. Now, some health books: Grain Brain, The Obesity Code, How Not to Die, The Telomere Effect, The Inflamed Mind, The Mind Gut Connection, Neurofitness, Sicker, Fatter, Poorer, The Selfish Gene, Why We Sleep, Brain Maker, Microbiome Diet, The Plant Paradox, The Body Keeps Score, Caffeine, The 5 Second Rule, Deep Nutrition. And to give you a little bit of a preface on these, the untethered soul, that thought in your head right now that you're telling yourself is real. It's yours and you can change it. Living in the illusion of fear of truth. We went over that. People live in this illusion. The infinite game. For instance, if I combine the infinite game with Start with Why, that's why my program teaches more than just health. It teaches wealth because healthy food is expensive. And if you're eating healthy, yeah, $69 for some fish oil, which are located directly over here. Yeah, that's pretty expensive for a lot of people. And there's some left in there. Almost thought I ran out. Anyways, The Decision by Kevin Hart. Very good book. He literally talks about coming from nothing and doing something. Adult children of emotionally immature parents. Did you have bad parents? Well, then there's probably some sort of emotional maturity that's preventing you from living the life that you want to live. The confidence gap, that literally should speak for itself. The 3 minute rule, that is the 3 minute audit video that we teach people. Thinking Fast and Slow, new monitored microscopic cell volcanoconiosis. You either immediately know what that is or you do not know what that is. And a slow thought is system one thinking. A fast thought, system two thinking. You're going to have system one and system two active at one point in time. You're going to utilize both of those to make decisions. And if you don't know which ones to utilize or when you're utilizing them, that's bad. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Literally, why can't I create this thing and do all of this stuff? That is literally why I built this company. Leaders Eat Last. That to me, not going to tell you about that book, but I joke around and say, oh, a leader eats last? Yeah, absolutely. I'll go to a party and throw a party and put a bunch of food and not eat any of it. So leaders really, really eat last. Secret of Secrets by Osho. This is a 56-hour long book, and this is the only book that I couldn't read in one day because it was way too long, and it's very confusing. Like he says that, like for instance, if a person comes to me, yeah, I'm going to invalidate a majority of the things in your life, but I'm a mentor, not a friend. I'm here to tell you, like, stop doing that stuff is wrong. It's going to lead you down the bad road. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I spent 45 days with a mentor every single day at 9 a.m. going over this book. But literally, Think and Grow Rich means like you can layer in the book called The One Thing with Think and Grow Rich. And those two books basically tell you the same thing. Figure out one specific thing, repeat that one specific thing, and congratulations, you figured it out. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Let me actually add two more books to this. All right, so we were totally going to add two books here, but I got a little bit carried away on TikTok and we're back to the PDF. So my apologies, not really certain where I left off, but I know that I was adding this book right here and I was supposed to add another book. And you're more than welcome to tell me that book that I was supposed to add or just go read it, give it a Google. You'll be able to find it. So going over all of these books, just real quick, one last time. Untethered Soul, Conversations in Your Brain, Living in the Illusion of the Fear of Truth. People just kind of fear the truth. They live in some illusional reality of like why they can't do the things that they want to do. Decision by Kevin Hart. It's basically a decision that you have to make. Choices define a human being. Like listen to the beginning of Ozark's conversation about money. It's the choices that people make. Adult children of emotionally immature parents. If you had bad parents, you might not be in the best life that you could have. Confidence gap speaks for itself. 3 minute rule. Thinking fast and slow. Start with why. Start with why is why I built this. Think and Grow Rich. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Living in a Place of Surrender. And then I added The One Thing by Gary Keller. Just because if you read Think and Grow Rich, if you read let's see, which ones are going to tie into The One Thing? The One Thing is about time blocking, where it's going to teach you to be able to effectively utilize your time without being pulled away by specific things that dopamine would trigger, which is why a person would have a ton of tabs open on their computer. Which, as you can see here, I have a ton of tabs open on my computer because at one point in time I was explaining something and I was going down the dopamine path of learning. And to learn, you must earn and listen because there's no other way. So, moving on to the health books, we have Grain Brain right here. And this is actually, there's a piece of this book that talks about are you eating a chicken or are you eating a walking, talking, clucking piece of grain? And that's where you look at the diets of animals and what you're actually consuming. So pay attention to the Grain Brain. It's going to teach you about grains. All grains are basically created equal. There's maybe some fiber content that you can add into your life. The Obesity Code. This is by Dr. Jason Fung. He's a nephrologist in Canada and created the pioneer system for reverse engineering type 2 diabetes to be able to solve it naturally. How Not to Die. It's basically just a book about how not to die, like lifestyle and food. The Telomere Effect. This is Elizabeth Epple and Elizabeth Blackburn. And I actually got to let me put the names of the people in here really fast for you. And I will put in the authors of these books by the time this PDF is published. I just want to go ahead and finish this up for you. But Elizabeth Ethel and Elizabeth Blackburn, they got a PhD. They found something called tetrahymena, which is pond scum. That's how they actually learned about telomeres. And they even did a study with telomeres, taking people up to a mountain. This is where you're going to learn about qigong specifically. The inflamed mind, which is like a radical new approach to depression. This is talking about leaky gut, low grade inflammation, the gut microbiome being unhealthy. And then that leads us into the mind gut connection book, which is going to teach you about your belly being your actual brain and all of the connections from the belly to the brain. Neurofitness, really cool story from this book, talks about a kid that was basically, they didn't test the kid's brain. So the kid kept like passing out. Then they finally tested the kid's brain and found out that he had a problem. So it was either breathing or brain surgery. This book's going to teach you about box breathing. It's just something that snipers use to calm themselves down, yada, yada, yada. Insert information. But yeah, the biggest thing here in this book takeaway is box breathing. Sicker, fatter, poorer. This is a really good book to read. This is also why when you go to lower poverty based areas, you're going to notice that their entire grocery store is filled with crap. Like, whenever I was reading these books, I genuinely drove over to the very poor, violent part of my city, and I went into their grocery store, and I kid you not, every single thing in there was garbage. It was like the 50 brain cell challenge. Yeah, that whole building failed. Like there was not a single thing that was healthy in there, maybe besides like eggs or like a fruit or something. Like, but every single thing that was in a package or a can or plastic was all garbage. It was insane. Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. This is going to teach you about caffeine, your consumptions of caffeine, your half lives of caffeine, the fact of sleeping, the fact of melatonin production, and what happens when you don't sleep effectively. You want to be 10 years older than you are with your hormones than you are right now. You want to be 30, but really 42. It's totally possible. Brain Maker, which is going to teach you about foods to help you make your brain. The microbiome diet. It's also going to include a PDF at the end that's going to go over a lot of foods that majority of people cannot have access to. The Plant Paradox. That one's by Stephen Guthrie. This one's going to go over lectins. So just how people have issues with carbohydrates and gluten sensitivities, like celiac. Imagine if plant lectins were causing problems. The Body Keeps Score. This is more of an overall kind of health and wellness book about mindset and foods and how your body keeps score of all the things that happen to it in time. You had trauma, your body's keeping score of that trauma. And this reminds me of a girl that I met that actually told me to read that book. And I said, I read that book. And I was like, what'd you learn? And we had a long conversation. Caffeine by Michael Pollan. This is why large corporations give people coffee for free because they know their workers are out trashing themselves on the weekend because they work for them. So a majority of people that work for somebody else, it's because they're just, the thinking ain't happening up there too much. And maybe they have a really good paying job. That's awesome. They're happy. Great. I'm not going to bash a person for being happy what they wake up doing every single day, but I'm always going to inspire a person to do more because the world needs more people to stand up for the things that need to be stood up for. Because we have a lot of problems that need to be solved. And who's going to solve them? You, by drinking a cup of coffee and then grinding your ass off all day. But caffeine, Michael Pollan, this just talks about why corporations give people caffeine. Some cool things behind like England, like why they have tea versus not coffee. So very cool book. And then the 5 second rule, just because veggies sucked. And literally in quotations, I say just because eating veggies sucked to the point where your brain is manipulated from all the dopamine releasing foods that people are consuming. That's why they consume them because they release dopamine and they feel good when you eat them. They're not actually good, they're trash. They're just coated in ingredients that make your brain say, mmm. But in reality, if your gut could tell you it's like, we're dying, hello, we're dying. I'm dying, and you're never gonna know until you get older and get sick, and then everyone gets sick when they're older. No, they don't. That's not normal. So 5 second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go consume some things that I don't want to eat to the point where I was forcing myself to eat a lot of the foods that I eat now. And I love them. But I didn't love them at first because they tasted nasty, because I was used to eating Flamin' Hot Cheetos all day long. And Monster Energy drinks, Slim Jims, ice cream, Reese cup, Klondikes, the whole pack, a literal tub of ice cream. That was my diet. So y'all are gonna see all the other diet stuff in the program. So Deep Nutrition. Read that one last. It's a very dense book. It's very good. Now, moving on, the 50 Brain Cell Challenge. If you have not tried the 50 Brain Cell Challenge, the 50 Brain Cell Challenge comes with a 30-day vegan detox meal plan, a 24-page paper of healthy foods written by our gut restoration dietitian, and the 50 Brain Cell Challenge itself. So, completely free resource. It's on the website. There's also a link in this PDF for you. but it says count your chemicals. And then I actually need to update that from count your chemicals, not your calories. Because at the end of the day, calories really aren't killing people. Majority of the low quality foods, actually, people are consuming too many of them, and they're not even getting enough calories in a day. Like a lot of women undereat, which is causing them not to be able to lose weight. So it's like, girl, you're just not eating enough. And trust me, you can get in real good shape real fast if you start eating right. So please take the 50 brain cell challenge if you have not already. I personally spent 2 years and countless hours studying everything on the grocery store shelves. This is why on my TikToks I go around and I can do all of this because I genuinely know every single food in the grocery store and what's in them because I literally would spend hours in the grocery store like a crazy fucking person. I'd read books, I'd read research, I'd go from shelf to shelf to shelf to shelf to shelf to aisle to aisle to aisle to aisle to aisle, even to the point where they're putting the same ingredients in some of the supplements that are in the freaking potato chips. So like whatever. Anyways, so companies that cut corners to produce all the foods take up the most space on the grocery shelves. This means low ingredients food enable mass productions and cost savings. And then there are also the big companies, so they have to take up the most space. And then they're also putting it at eye level for shopping. So companies are able to produce millions of pounds of garbage to stock the grocery store shelves based on the economical gains associated with utilizing low quality ingredients. It's worth nothing that healthy food only has 2 to 3 spots. It's worth noting. Sorry, it's worth noting that healthy foods only has 2 to 3 spots compared to the 50 plus of name brands. Our dietitian Natalie has written a 24-page paper of healthy foods accompanied in the 50 Brain Cell Challenge. We also include a 30-day vegan detox meal plan. We made as generic as possible because we know most grocery stores have limited options. The cost of healthy food is usually an excuse for people not to eat healthy. So check out our online income page where you can learn about making money online so you can afford all the healthy food in your world. This will change your life, and there's a link to the 50 Brain Cell Challenge because I was the person growing up that made the excuses that I couldn't afford things. And I genuinely couldn't afford things. But you want to know why I couldn't afford things? Because I thought I couldn't. And I couldn't think myself out of a paper bag. A wet napkin was standing in my way. So don't let the wet napkin stand in your way. Go learn and earn the life that you want to live. So now jumping into our process, like what do we do? How are we helping people? So from doctor to dietitian to you. If you get a gut test, we're going to review it with a naturopath doctor. We're going to review it with a gut restoration dietitian. We're going to review it with you. And then we're going to give you interpretations based on the gut results that we have gotten. We're going to give you supplementation. We're going to give you foods to eat. And we're going to give you a diet plan that you're going to be able to follow. So right here it says, welcome to the homeostasis diet, where we know a diet is not just food, it's information. In this PDF, you will get answers to questions that you do not know now. Or sorry, in this PDF, I'm so used to saying that stuff in the 3-minute videos that I use, and you'll learn those too if you join the program. But in this PDF, you will get answers to questions that you didn't even know you had to ask. By the end of this document, you will know things about your health that you do not know now. Among these things that you know, they may significantly alter the way you live your life. Gut microbiome health is on the rise, and the most important thing the world requires is proper education to avoid being sold products they do not need. Food can make or break your brain. Now here's the stuff that's like, look at you can go to the bottom of a lot of websites and they'll tell you that this is not designed for diagnosis, not don't supplement this for a profession in health. And it's kind of sad that they would sell medical testing that people are going to use to make health decisions and then say at the very bottom of the website where no one's going to read that this is not meant to be used by you at all. It's for general information purposes. You're not supposed to use the information at all, but people are still going to use the information off of it. So it's like one of those weird things where they're actually not providing you the truth and you're just getting kind of like half answers and just it's one of those companies that are seed funded by billionaires where they don't connect you to a human. They just run you through the computer process and say info. So anyways, the best available diagnostic test for determining whether a human patient has a disease or condition is not available for the general public to purchase online. Please at least consider consulting a professional health company before making decisions about your health. You can schedule a free consultation here. We are here to educate you with words that were not important yesterday. And what I mean by this is that if you've never worked with a dietitian before, I guarantee you they're going to teach you things that you do not know. And among the things that they teach you, you're not going to want to follow a majority of them because they're going to tell you to do things that nobody wants to do. It's why if you go to a grocery store, 90% of the grocery store is trash, 10% of the grocery store is healthy because roughly 5% of the people are going to eat healthy and 95% of the people are going to eat trash. It's why every time you go to the grocery store, there's plenty of veggies for you to consume. And usually there's like lunch meat. It's all missing. You're like, what? Anyways, When we say a diet is more than food, it's information, it's because humans were not designed to live in this unnatural environment we call society. Do you believe that they put people through MRI machines to create addictive foods? You ever hear that sugar is the same as cocaine? Would you think that pizza smells? Why do you think pizza smells so good? High salt, fat, and sugar foods are dominating the human microbiome community, causing a flurry of common illnesses. The proof is in the pudding, which is literally bad for your gut microbiome because it's filled with useless ingredients. Candy is not food. Pizza is not food. Fast food is not food. Stop eating it like it's food. Food is fuel, and if you consume it wrong, your system will begin to slowly die. And a little bit of preface on here is where we talked about glycation, where we talked about AGEs. These highly processed, overly cooked foods are literally killing us. We are not designed to consume these foods. They are not natural, they are not reoccurring in nature. So why the hell are we eating them? I'm gonna let you figure that one out. So moving on, what you should expect. You should expect to learn things about your health that you do not know now. Nutrigenomics and gut microbiome tests are our two main tests. They start at $1,200 a piece for individual testing, $1,800 for both. A procedure is very simple. Book a call, have a conversation. We'll find out if this stuff's right for you. A majority of the questions that we get are like, should I start with a gut test? Should I start with a nutrigenomics test? Honestly, you should start with both if you can afford both. And if you can't afford both, that's why we have the online income page for people to be able to go make all the money that they've ever wanted in their life and be able to afford these things that are going to improve the quality of their life. The fact between somebody not affording something and affording something is simply a mindset. Like if you told me years ago that I would make more money than I made an entire year in a week, I'd tell you you're crazy, but I've done that many times. So you can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it. So if you decide to move forward, you're going to receive two consultations from our dietitian. Zoom consultation number one is going to go over just kind of the remedial information that you might not know and just kind of immediate recommendations. Like, where are you? Where are you trying to go? What are you eating? What can we kind of suggest just based off of general information that you should or should not consume? We're going to review the gut microbiome test with a naturopath doctor, and the gut restoration dietitian is going to be a part of all of this. And we give you the reset button program that we have as a thank you. It does take 2 weeks for the gut microbiome test to return, so it's about a 3 week turnaround time. The nutrigenomics tests take about 2 weeks. So once again, there's a little bit of a lag time. So we give you the reset button program. The best review we've gotten in the reset button program is somebody lost 90 pounds and they read 115 books. And then after the reset button program, they were interested in the testing. So if the testing seems a little bit, out of your range, you're more than welcome to join the reset button program. It's only $47. And as I'm recording a video and saying it's $47, it's going to stay $47 because I am not about to re-record a video that is an hour and 17 minutes long. So yeah, it's going to be that price for the rest of my life because at the end of the day, now there's no excuse why you can't change your life because $47 is pretty cheap. Like, don't go out to the bar, don't go out to eat, maybe try fasting and save money on food. There's a billion things you can do, but I'm not here to convince you of that. We also have a Discord group where every week we go over book reviews, and we're going to have a dietitian start doing weekly consultations as well, which mean the people that have our gut test, the people that have our nutrigenomics test, we're going to take priority questions from them, and we're going to build our topics around that. And then same thing, reset button program, submit your questions. We will put that in our queue, and we will focus on those specific topics. But on the very bottom, we put meditate or medicate. One letter is the difference between life and death. This is why I created this entire PDF to help others understand that there is a way to live a better life. Because I used to do all of the things that I tell everyone not to do. That's why I go through the grocery store and say, don't eat all these things because they're going to mess you up. Now, mind your gut and keep your mind. All right. In modern research, the gut microbiome community is linked to a staggering number of health problems. If your parents struggled with weight issues, your genetic makeup is predisposed to do so as well. Approximately 95% of our neurological connections run from our gut to our brain. This is why a majority of mental health conditions are connected to the gut. Consider what would happen if you truly lost your ability to store memory as a result of a poor diet. As the saying goes, you are what you eat. When more than 30% of our world is diagnosed with depression and anxiety, something is wrong. When more than 40% of America is suffering from obesity, which by the way is completely preventable, something is wrong. Depression, memory loss, Alzheimer's, dementia, anxiety, migraines, cancer, brain fog, type 2 diabetes, and even our IQ levels are all factors that are influenced by our gut microbiome. According to one study, having more abdominal fat indicates that you have a smaller brain. It's called the bigger the belly, the smaller the brain. Check out the research yourself here. Testing your gut helps us learn how to scientifically build richness and diversity of your gut microbiome, which are critical for unlocking your potential. Our world is going to push pro and prebiotics telling you that they're good for you. Don't add random things into your body just because. You deserve answers if you want them. The claim is that leaky gut causes low grade inflammation as a result of a weakened gut barrier allowing pathogens into our bodies. This weak barrier is because we're eating low quality foods that do not nourish your gut microbiome. There's a thing called indole, which has to be balanced in there. Too high is bad, too low is bad. Is it balanced? You won't know until you get a test and find out. That is literally as factual as it could possibly be. Your keystone species, for instance, imagine a beaver decides to move into your town and builds a massive dam, and that massive dam floods the entire city for some just obviously hypothetical reason. That is a keystone species. They are extremely detrimental to an environment. You missing your keystone species, which you're going to see here down below as we scroll down. Keystone species: low, high, low, low, high, low, 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 low. Majority of people's keystone species are extremely low. They don't have them at all. This person's missing GABA, which GABA is essential for calming your body and your brain. High fat diets are shown to reduce GABA levels by roughly 40% in your prefrontal cortex. So, yeah, having B7 low, is that bad? Well, I don't know. Vitamin biosynthesis low? Oh, that's a good one. How about glutathione production? There's a lot of things inside of these tests that are going to tell us how to help you. And you're more than welcome to go get a cheap diet from some random dietitian that thinks they know better. But unless they have some sort of scientific evidence in front of them, they're just writing you a random diet plan based on the fact that people think broccoli is healthy. Broccoli is created by human beings. It's not even real. We just made it real by breeding vegetables and creating something. So, is broccoli right for you? I don't know, because I don't have your gut test on file. Is coffee right for you? I don't know. We don't have your nutrigenomics on file. We can't answer questions that we don't know the answers to, because that's not right. It's not how it works. And think about the long term of life. Do you want to have answers now, or do you want to just keep guessing? So don't guess. Get a test. So this weak barrier causing from this, one size fits all diet plans are a thing of the past. Your genetics serves as a guide to what is true and false. And these are just kind of little snippets from the gut microbiome testing. Let me actually put a link in here for you. Your gut microbiome. Sorry, we just put the link there for the watch the gut microbiome testing. That's going to take you over to our main page right here. And then if you scroll down right here to gut microbiome testing explained, it's going to give you a little bit of a synopsis of the gut microbiome testing. And if you still have questions, book a call, have a conversation. Like if you're eating junk food, I'm not going to sell you a gut test because I don't want to take your money and test you just to tell you that your gut microbiome's trash. Because at the end of the day, we have much cheaper services like the Reset Button program where you can learn to reinoculate your gut. And then after you're eating healthy and you feel better and you really want that last layer, then we can do that. So learn, earn, and then we can talk about a gut test. But check it out. That's going to explain the gut testing to you. So, gut testing. You are what you eat. Your gut microbiome, not you, is the focus of your diet. The microbiome test is intended for those who seek scientific evidence and fact. Your gut microbiome is studied using a stool sample. This test provides a snapshot of what you've been eating and how you've been digesting and what you've been absorbing. Your gut microbiome reveals bacteria, colonies, hormones, and neurotransmitters which are essential for health. You will discover what it takes to keep your gut species in balance so that you can feel your best. Honestly, it's insane that people are taking pro and prebiotics without actually knowing which ones they need. Got acid reflux? Have you heard of the stomach cancer lawsuit with antacids? Read more here. And that's literally there's advertisements on Google from law firms that are suing over this because stomach antacids, when you're supposed to have acid in your stomach, are causing problems. They're literally a lawsuit helping other people sue for this. So it's pretty crazy. The gut test will reveal information about yourself that you need to know in order to make the most of this life. Wouldn't it be cool to know you're missing all your GABA and that's one of the reasons you're feeling depressed and anxiety? There's literally so many things in the gut test that connect back to your depression that you may be experiencing and really, really, really just getting a solid diet plan where you're not constantly spiking your blood sugar throughout the day is going to be one of the biggest things that you can do to help yourself through depression and anxiety because SSRI medications are mimicking your brain derived neurotropic factor. That's a little weird because your BDNF is actually going to go down when you're consuming all of the unhealthy foods that are listed in the 50 brain cell challenge that you should not consume. So when you start to do the math and you really dive into everything that I'm explaining to you here, like I really would like you to read the research papers. I really would like you to read all the books because guess what? You're going to come to the same conclusions where your belly's your brain, and a lot of these foods are actually causing the problem. And if you don't come to that conclusion and you figure something else out that I didn't figure out, then tell me I'm wrong. But there's a reason why I made a 30 or a 30 some page PDF. Is just because people are going to doubt you. They're not going to believe you. So I've given you ample books and research papers to go doubt me and not believe me and do your own research so we can both come to the same conclusions. Give a little bit of a high five and say, yeah, right? Isn't it amazing how much better you feel when you start eating healthier? Duh. Like, I'll tell you, I'm the first person that when I ate a salad, I was like, wow, I have all these feelings of like feeling good. And it was just like, whoa, I felt like all happiness. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine food making you feel like shit. It's real. It's so real that it's scary. It's so real to the point that I've made this PDF way too long. And the reason it's long is because study it, learn and you earn, or meditate or medicate. One letter, difference between life and death. Totally your choice. So, suggestions for probiotics and prebiotic recommendations, which we're going to give you that. Lifetime access to the Reset Button program, which is going to have over 100 plus modules and multiple creators inside of it. I am finding other creators on TikTok and having their information put in my program so other people can learn about other resources that they can do. You don't have to run advertisements online. You don't have to sell chatbots. You don't have to sell e-commerce stores. You don't have to sell websites. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You're going to be able to do all these other things because I'm going to find everyone else that does stuff that's actually real. Because there's a lot of people on the internet that just talk about shit and they don't do it. They're just trying to sell you into something that they don't actually do for a living. And that is not good. So, lifetime access to the Reset Button program. It's going to continue to grow. There's going to be a lot more people joining it. And it's as a resource. It's supposed to be there for you, not for me. It's there for you. I created it. I'm literally feeding it to you with all of the other creators because I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that are going to be able to help you a little bit better than I can with certain things. So, fungal, bacteria, yeast, whole genome sequence analysis of the gut microbiome, which is the big part because your genomes are you, not everybody else. So, personalized recommendations to develop your unique genetic profile. And this is just genuinely useful for you because it is your belly, it is your brain. And then 2 hour Zoom consultations with a gut restoration dietitian. And I need to actually update this because I said 2 up here, but it's actually 3 because we're going to do a follow up Zoom consultation with you down the road. So obviously, patient compliance is just piss poor. So we're going to ask you, hey, so how far have you fallen off your diet since we've written you a diet plan? Or how many meals have you not cooked because you're used to not cooking and you go back into your habits of just eating Chick-fil-A, which is somebody that's in my one-on-one program. And if you're watching this, stop eating your Chick-fil-A. I don't know how many people on my team have to tell you to stop eating your Chick-fil-A, but stop eating your Chick-fil-A. Anyways, moving on. So, gut testing starts at $1,200. And if you really want to book a call and have a conversation and have me go over price breakdown, I'm more than welcome to do that with you. This is not a place that we make a lot of money from in our company. There's another thing that we do that you can learn in the Reset Button program. And then you can feed all of the beautiful ideas that you have ever wanted to create without fear of ever running out of money. Moving on. Nutrigenomics, gene-based nutrition. So nutritional DNA testing. Similar to your GPA in high school, but this one actually matters. In retrospect, the person writing this had a 1.7 GPA in high school. This test reveals your genetic makeup, which allows for accurate nutritional advice down to your genomes. Did you know that according to the research paper studied in the American Journal of I'm fumbling my words, sorry, it's late, but I'm reading this way too long. Did you know that according to the research published in the Journal of American Medical Associations, consuming more than 195 milligrams of caffeine per day might increase your risk of heart disease if you have a CYA1P2 gene? And let me stop you right here, real quick, and say when you go do your own research on this, you're going to find conflicting information. You're going to find one person say yes, you're going to find one person saying no. Even after a person has heart surgery, which I literally ran into a lady at the coffee shop, and it just manifested itself into reality. And she was in the window. I was standing here, and I was like, "How's your day going?" I always talk to people around me, and occasionally, like if it's older people, I like to talk to older people my own age. I just like kind of with them. But I said, "How's your day going?" She's like, "Oh, I just got back from heart surgery, getting my coffee. Doctor totally said I shouldn't." And right there is proof. Like, so even if a person has heart surgery, a doctor's going to tell them to avoid caffeine. So CYA1P2 gene, the CYA1P enzyme is in charge of 90% of your caffeine metabolism. Imagine thinking you're super healthy fasting, drinking multiple cups of black coffee a day, only to discover you're increasing your risk of heart disease. People say it's false. However, would you risk it when doctors specifically state to limit caffeine intake after heart surgery? We test a wide range of genetic profiles tailored to different stages of life. This is where you truly learn what is actually best for you because it's you, not some random advice based on how someone feels about something that they ate. So, Health Data 77 Gene Profile Report specifically designed to help you understand the food choices. The guessing game comes to an end. Would you listen to your genes? Because there's genuinely a difference between life and death based on what you choose to consume. And with the CYA1P2 gene, for me, it's kind of like one of those things where, okay, if it says you have it, you shouldn't consume that much caffeine, maybe you should stop being a person that relies on caffeine all the time and just genuinely consume less caffeine and find an alternative way, like sleeping normally and not relying on caffeine. So there's a lot of things people can do there to do that. But once again, do your own research and find out if you believe that this is true. And then apparently there's a question mark going there. Boom. Spelling errors. That's what happens when you don't go to school or you suck at English. I suck at English. So, anyways, performance data. So there's performance, there's reproductive, and there's alternative diets where a lot of people want to go plant-based. That's great, but should you really be plant-based? I don't know. There's a lot of people that want to reproduce. And reproduction is one of the most important parts of getting your health right. Because what's going to happen when you get pregnant is you're going to screen cap your genetics. And that screen cap is going to be that child that you're creating. So, like, if you're with a person and they stress you out, congratulations, you've screen capped stress, and that's going to be passed down to that baby. If you're in a bad environment, if you're feeling fearful, everything and anything that you're feeling, your baby will feel too. And that's your gene cap expressions, your telomeres, your DNA, every single thing. Your weight related issues, your depression, your anxiety, all of it is connecting itself together. And then bam, you're creating that child. And now that kid is going to live off of that. So when people make the joke like, oh, like, blah, 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 cancer this, cancer that, you might not die from cancer, but you're literally going to turn on the genes in your offspring so they can possibly die from cancer. So it's really, really important to eat as healthy as possible. A lot of people will recommend roughly 2 years prior to conception. And now think about that in the full circle. Majority of people don't really plan nutritionally for pregnancy. They don't think to reinoculate their gut. They don't think to eat off their DNA. Like if, and then hold on, we'll go to the next one where it says it runs in your family, right? Like, what if it runs in your family? Why does it run in your family? But anyways, I digress away from this. I'm just excited to talk about this specific topic. But reproductive data. Not only can we help you with fertility, but also make recommendations on a healthier baby. And then performance data. Athletes, bodybuilders are some of the most conscious individuals. So like having that information is going to be valuable to you because you just should. Like as a person who is into health, I don't understand why some of the people eat like chicken and rice and just like a vegetable. Like your gut tests are going to be bad. And how do I know this? Is because, well, we've done those before. And we're just like, wow, how are you surviving? Oh, it's because you just physically look fit and your gut's dying. So we're going to be able to solve a lot of those problems. But the nutritional DNA here is just genuinely telling us what you should and shouldn't eat. So a lot of people consume a lot of stuff that they shouldn't consume. And then this goes down to the gene variant, which pulls 5 different genes. It's not just one, it's 5. So it's multiple different ones. And I'll say one of the biggest things that we found in here was somebody that thought they were celiac, and they actually weren't. And their doctor tested them and told them they were. And we're like, based on your genes, you're not. There's actually something else. And then in the gut test, some of the worst things we found is somebody was actually basically they had bacteria in their gut that was reflecting the fact that they were about to become insulin resistant or were already insulin resistant. So they were on their way to developing type 2 diabetes. And that person needed to lose roughly 80 pounds. So they worked with us one on one. And if you're not familiar with the one on ones, dietitian, mindset coach, personal trainer. It's going to be hard for you to eat right. So the mindset coach is going to be like, stop eating garbage. The dietitian is going to show up and help you understand your foods and check in with you. And the personal trainer is going to get you moving because it's going to take a whole team of people to help a person. That's why you build a team of people to help people because it's the right thing to do. So once again, book a call, have a conversation. If you're interested in those things, it's completely up to you, not forcing you to do anything. This PDF will be able to solve a majority of your problems. Now, DNA testing, it runs in your family. What is it? Think about something that runs in your family. Why do they appear to be inherited in your family? We're told it's genetic. What if you could recognize and change your gene traits that run in your family? Even if you don't see the results, your children will. This is where you will learn that DNA can help you avoid future chronic diseases. A little known fact about is that your diet has the ability to influence gene expressions. Genetic markers that influence cardiometabolic health, risk of heart disease, caffeine tolerance, and protein metabolism. Because of this knowledge, we can now act in accordance with our genes. Your responses are, in fact, distinct from everyone else's. Don't risk listening to advice based on someone else's perspective of reality. Yes, general diet plans can be effective, but if you plan on eating food for the rest of your life, why not know what you should be eating? So, and then this, okay, it looks like I recreated a little bit here with the additional information. So, comprehensive genetics, 70 to 77 genes. We always pay for the more expensive test, so we get the 77 gene profile. So I'm just going to delete that 70 in there. I'm just finalizing this PDF for you. There's obviously going to be some errors. I'm not perfect, but I'm just trying to get the information across. Markers, genetic skips, SNPs, optional to get a methylational genetic markers if needed. We always get that as well. So I'm gonna just remove that. Boom. Because we do that as well. We pay for the most expensive ones, and it's about reinvesting back into people to make sure they get life-changing experiences, and not cutting corners and selling shitty services because you just want money. So yeah, no. Anyways, genetic testings are based on the latest scientific evidence and algorithms. Personalized recommendations are developed based on your unique genetic profile, and access to our reset button with over 100 plus modules of health and wealth. And then each test individually, $1,800. Test together, thousand, or each test individually, $1,200. Each test together, $1,800. You can tell that I'm being awake too late because I'm starting to fumble my words, and I don't normally fumble my words. Now, diet plans. So, food for thought, right? If you don't have a set menu of food to eat from, it's time to wake up. Food intolerances are real, according to evidence and research. You don't want to waste more time guessing about your health. As we get older, our brain plasticity decreases, making it more difficult to change. So, like when people have a habit to eat a very bad diet, they're going to continue to eat that very bad diet. General diet plans are frequently misapplied and are not based on data. We can put together a basic diet plan that will work if you insist, because that is what a dietitian studies in school. Like dietitians literally their job is to make people healthy based on the food they eat. And that's why a hospital setting for a dietitian is very stressful, because guess what? The patients are fed garbage because the hospital orders garbage, and it is a nightmare. I literally just asked Natalie about like what people are fed and how the fact that like they can't change it sometimes, and it's insane. Like I was like, whoa. I was like, so do you want to stop working with people that don't care and work with people that care? Then let's do this stuff. And that was a long time ago. So based on data, that's just with testing, we can make more educated decisions on your health. Without data, there's no real such thing as a real diet. The tests we provide are solely for the purpose of ensuring the accuracy of the data we provide. Working with a dietitian will change your life, whether you take the test or not. General health consulting looks something like this. Understanding if you're actually getting enough nutrients in a day. The majority of people are not getting enough nutrients in a day. Answer conflicting questions of information on diets on the internet. A lot of people see all these random diets on the internet. And they're like, is this one right? Is this one right? Is this one right? No one will know until you get a test. Work directly with our gut restoration dietitian. Understand what to eat and avoid in the grocery store for general health. And in the $3.99, we're going to be able to write you the diet. We're going to be able to write you recommendations and foods. And there's a lot of free resources that cover a majority of the extra information that you might need. And we're going to give you the reset button program as well. So our goal is to offer the highest level of nutrition consulting via direct connection to health professionals and testing. General health advice has the power to impact your life. General health advice, in addition, with testing, has the power to impact your entire family tree. Your diet is not for you; it's for your gut microbiome. Let's create a world where we pass down superior gut and DNA health to our offspring. Unfortunately, it is extremely late. It is past my bedtime, and I am not going to continue pushing through the fact that I need to be sleeping because it is not healthy for me. I've stayed up way too late past my bedtime, and I'm going to finish the rest of this PDF tomorrow. So there's going to be another video for this down below, and where am I going to be linking this stuff? This is going to be in the program, and it's also going to be the video analysis. So if you're watching this, you're in the program. So the video down below is going to have the second part of this PDF file where we're going to go over the alternate testing facilities. We're going to go over the reset button program, knowing the mechanics of manifesting a new reality, or as straightforward as learning the mechanics that sustain it. If you have not noticed by now, education is our thing. And then the 5%, this is going to be a little bit of a daily plan that I'm going to give you, like wake up at 4 a.m., stretch, breathe, get in the cold shower, write down the things you need to complete today, the 50-year plan, exercise, do this, do that, a whole bunch of information there. And then this is another part of the 5% that I'm going to write again. And then these are just reviews that we have from some other people that this is one, this is another one. I'm going to throw some of those in there for people, and then a message from me. Like, I know what it's like to sleep days on end because you're so depressed and you don't want to move. So, just some reality for anybody who's looking for a better reality. It's out there, it exists, and it's totally possible. So, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. And I'd be hard pressed to say that this PDF doesn't change your life, just this PDF alone. So have a beautiful day. And still, it's crazy to think that the person that lost 90 pounds literally didn't even have access to this PDF because I didn't even have this PDF published for them. So I will see you in the next video.